This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are you doing on this Monday afternoon? This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. Hope you guys are doing well. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon, on Spotify, with all your favorite podcast platforms. We appreciate everybody who subscribed, rated, and reviewed the show. You can find us in all those places. We're a proud part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network. We're along with our friends Blue Collar Unplugged. You can find us, of course, at BamaCentral.com, of course, at BamaCentral on the X/Twitter machine, or at BamaCentral SI on Instagram, or at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated on Facebook. So we are a proud part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's a huge week. It's Super Bowl week. If you guys are into that, we might talk about that later on down the week, but it's National Signing Day week right there on Wednesday. Ryan Williams has moved up his signing from Friday, his birthday, to Wednesday. So he's going to put all that to bed. That's great news. It's going to be a fun week. Alabama's playing at Auburn. Oh my gosh, at Auburn on Wednesday and at LSU on Saturday. But first, before we get into the week ahead, we will recap Saturday's big win again in Coleman Coliseum. Over the Mississippi State. Alabama 99-67, and it was beyond the obvious score, the 30-point win. It was really it's quintessential NATO's basketball. It was a lot of fun to be there in Coleman Coliseum. There was a lot of it was as close to, it was a sellout on the ticket exchange. It was pretty full. It didn't get to the fever pitch that was the Iron Bowl of basketball the week earlier, but it was pretty close. It was a nice Saturday crowd. It was pretty close to the Saturday before with LSU in town. The crowd got into it a good bit, especially thanks to the defense, Mohamed Diabate getting into it and responding to NATO's technical foul. So it was a lot of fun to be in there on Saturday. You can let me know what you thought about the game on Saturday right there in the comments section on all the social medias at Joe Gaither6 on Facebook or on Twitter or on YouTube at Joe Gaither6. You can jump in and join us if you're listening or watching on the show. You can talk about your experience in Coleman Coliseum on Saturday night, or if you watched it from your living room or at your favorite restaurant eating establishment on Saturday night. Okay, so Alabama, it was incredible. It was the quintessential NATO's performance besides the shooting percentage. Alabama shooting not really a great percentage, shooting 45% from the floor, 31% from the three. Alabama really a lot closer to 37% from the three-point line this season. Really a lot higher in Coleman Coliseum, but putting up 48 three-point shots amongst the guys, getting up 83 field goals based on, look, you can shoot at 45%. If you are getting 83 field goals up, you end up with a huge 30-point victory. And really, you get that because you forced 18 turnovers, and granted, Mississippi State, they had DJ Jeffries. He got hurt in the middle of the game, and that really limited their rotation. And Hubbard, Josh Hubbard was a little bit shaky as well from a freshman standpoint. So like Mississippi State struggles. We realize they're one-dimensional offensively, and you got to give Tolu Smith a lot of credit for his 23 points, and he was 8 of 14 from the floor. He still struggles from the free throw line, basically 50%, 7 for 13, a little better than 50%, but he struggles from. They're one-dimensional. They've got good front court play, but bad backcourt play, and so it's really interesting to see Alabama. You force the 18 turnovers, you get out into transition, have 27 points off those turnovers, and then you just really get after it on the glass. you got to give credit. Alabama defensively in the first half holding Mississippi State. Let me pull up their exact. In the first half, holding Mississippi State to 0.72 points per possession. Basically, it was Tolu Smith or nothing. He had 14 points in the first half, and they ultimately ended up with 24 points as an entire team. And Alabama, they're throwing single body after single body. It was Grant Nelson. It was Muhammad Wahi, kind of going after him, and a little bit of Jaron Stevenson. Just the guys were really impressive with the way that they were, obviously Tolu Smith, he was going to get his, but fighting for every possession. He hardly had any easy shots, any easy makes. He was at least fighting through contact a lot of the time, and he obviously got to the free throw line a lot. You saw Alabama's foul troubles in the game. Alabama seeing both Grant Nelson and Muhammad Wahi foul out. So it was just, to me, from sitting there in press row, a really impressive effort defensively for Alabama, giving up size, a little bit of size disparity with Tolu Smith, and a little skill disparity with Tolu Smith, but still fighting and making every possession really, really challenging on the night. So I was really impressed from the defensive end. I mean, you only made how many threes out of the 48? 15, was it? 15 threes? Yeah, 15 out of the 48. And your best three-point shooter was obviously Jaron Stevenson. Jaron Stevenson started off the night 4 of 4. He has improved so much on the entire year. You got to remember that he's still supposed to be a high school senior. Jaron Stevenson, if you get him, making, you're not going to get him making 4 3-point shots a night, but you can get him making, 2 3-point shots a night. He stretches the floor so well that it allows Aaron Estrada and Mark Sears to get into the lane offensively, still effectively, because you're stretching the floor so much. You're pulling the help away from the lane, and I think that his real improvement over the last several weeks through SEC play has made Alabama really dangerous going forward. I mean, look, I'm going to be hyperbolic here just a little bit, but you think about the performance that was put on the floor on Saturday night, and you think about what's a good recipe for an NCAA tournament game? And really, you're not going to shoot, you get into some of these bigger arenas, you get away from Colby Coliseum, you may not shoot your 40% from the three-point line. You may not shoot your 43% from the three-point line. I think that what you saw on Saturday was a pretty nice little recipe, especially when you're going to go against some of the better bigs in the country. Look, you saw Alabama struggle against Zach Edey. You saw him struggle against the Creighton big man. Look, Alabama has struggled against some of the big men that they've played this year, but against Tolu Smith, look, Tolu got his in Starkville. He got his right here in Coleman Coliseum on Saturday. But Alabama was able to do enough defensively against the rest of the team. Look, they only allowed 2 other guys into double figures. So to do enough defensively on the rest of the team to really allow the offense to do what it wants to do what it needs to do. The only thing that Alabama really lacked offensively was free throw shooting. And they ended up getting to the line 10 times, and most of that coming in the second half. First half, what was it? They were 1 for 1 from the free throw line. Mohamed Diabate getting to the free throw line probably on one of those and one attempts. But getting 9 free throw attempts. You want to get more free throw attempts outside of the limited free throw attempts. You look at the game offensively and you think, oh, what is blue collar basketball? What is Nate Oates basketball? And it's exactly what you saw on Saturday in Coleman Coliseum. It's shooting a bunch of 3-pointers. It's creating turnovers. You created 18 turnovers. You didn't protect the ball wonderfully, but you did okay. You gave up 11 turnovers of your own, but you scored 27 points off those turnovers, and then you really hustled on the glass, 48-37. You gained a huge rebounding advantage against a team that's it's got a pretty decent reputation, for rebounding, but so you do real well on the glass, and that creates 19 second chance points. You get to the look up where's my specialty stats. Yeah, your layups, 16 layups, 16 out of 24 right at the rim. And so you're getting to the rim or you're shooting 3-point shots, and basically you're spamming offense over and over and over because of your good defense, because you're creating turnovers, because you're cleaning up the glass. It's one shot and done, and you're getting out to enter transition. You're getting out into the break. Your fast break points, 19 points on the day. So like, you are basically, this was, if somebody ever asked, oh, what is blue collar basketball? What's a NATO's what's NATO's basketball team look like? It is exactly what you saw on Saturday night in Coleman Coliseum. So it was a lot of fun to be there. You got to build off of it. You're still halfway in the SEC season. Alabama goes to Auburn on Wednesday, and you got to find a way to ideally win that basketball game. Auburn's going to be a very, very challenging place to play. If you come away with the season split against Auburn, is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. Will it kind of stink? Yeah, sure. It'll hurt your ego just a little bit, hurt your momentum. You've won 5 SEC games in a row now from the Crimson Tide perspective. So you go to Auburn, you take these traits into Auburn, you take this gritty defense that you've kind of found yourself in. And Mark Sears, look, Mark has been an incredible player for this team because of how patient he's been. Mark, the same sort of way on Saturday. You think about what he did. His first shot didn't come until 8:53. Yeah, 8:53 in the first half. So he goes basically 11 minutes to the first half, and this is your leading scorer in the SEC. He's not pressing. He's already had a steal. He's had a defensive rebound, and then boom, he lets the shot come to him at 8:53 in the first half and nails his first three-pointer. He never really presses his game. He had nine points in the first half, so 9 points in that last 9 minutes of the first half, and then 12 in the second half to lead Alabama with his 21, getting to the free throw line late six times. He was 6 for 6. Mark Sears has just been so fun to watch because he's in such great control, leading this basketball team both offensively and defensively. Let's see. Wendell Hare jumps in, and we appreciate Wendell always jumping in and commenting on the Facebook side. You can too. Wendell says, Bama seems to do good against SEC teams, but struggles when it comes to non-conference games. And so far this season, you're exactly right. You lost to Purdue, you lost to Arizona, and you lost to Creighton from a non-conference perspective. And everybody knows that March Madness is where basically your season is made or you can make or break your season. And the casual basketball fans, the office basketball fans, the people who jump around to the water cooler, who watch 5 minutes of SportsCenter every day, they're going to judge Alabama based on how they do in March Madness. And so it leads me to thank you, Wendell, for this perfect transition to a poll that I put up on my Twitter account. You can find it at Joe Gaither 6. The poll is already closed, unfortunately, but I asked, if Alabama plays the way that they played on Saturday, what is the ceiling for this Alabama Crimson Tide team? I asked, is it the Sweet 16? Is it the Elite 8? Is it the Final Four or the national title? Look, this Alabama basketball team, I would argue, is playing very in the realm of the two NATO Sweet 16 teams that they're playing almost as well as last year's team. They're not as talented as the Brandon Miller, Noah Clowney-led team with Charles Bediako as well, but they're playing similarly to, in that realm. And then you got to think back 2 years earlier, they're playing similarly, winning basketball. They're not as cohesive. They're not as well led as the senior-led Herb Jones, one-handed out there defending everybody, and Alex Reese coming off the bench and stretching everybody. Look, they're not probably as well put together as that team was, but they're playing similarly to those two teams. So in my opinion, I think that you could say you'd expect this Alabama basketball team to reach the Sweet 16. That's kind of been, Coach Wimp Sanderson, what did he reach? 10 Sweet 16s during his career. That's kind of been that Alabama threshold. This is one of the better Alabama basketball teams. Is it as good as last year's team? No, probably not. You run those two teams against each other 5 times. Last year's team probably wins 3 of them. But this year's team pretty solid, and it's been so amazing to see with Coach Oates losing 3 assistants and losing so many guys to the transfer portal and or NBA draft. So with all that being said, what's the ceiling? Is it the Sweet 16? If they play this way and continue to build off this off the momentum that they built, I mean, look, this basically the performance on Saturday was essentially a carryover from the Wednesday second half comeback against the Georgia Bulldogs. And you never should have been in that position against the Georgia Bulldogs, but that's life on the road in the SEC. So if Alabama finds itself down on Wednesday, just remember that's life in the road in the SEC. Georgia, has been up on a lot of these teams. They got up on Tennessee. They got up on Alabama. They got up on South Carolina on Saturday, but were not able to finish the job. That's been kind of their MO lately, is getting up on teams at home, but unfortunately unable to finish the job. So the carryover, the second half in Athens is on display on Saturday, basically from the jump. And so you got to ask yourself, if Alabama is able to play at that level consistently through the rest of the year, you got the second half of the SEC season, the rest of the way to go. If Alabama's able to play that way through the rest of the season, you are sitting there competing for the SEC regular season title. You look at our friend Kenneth Pomeroy. Mr. Kenneth Pomeroy says that there's going to be a 3-way tie in the SEC for the SEC title with Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee at this point. And hard to argue with Mr. Kenneth Pomeroy, the Lord of the Analytic. But you play this way, maybe you win that SEC title. And then you get to Nashville. What does that do what do you do in Nashville? You're basically rolling the dice. But you play this way in the big tournament. Can you get to the Elite Eight? Can you pop your cherry and get to the Final Four? You never know. I mean, you make more than 15 of your 48 three-point shots. I mean, you hit 99 points, and our man Sam Walters flubbed a dunk. You got to give Sam Walters a little bit of a hard time for that. But this team, I think the ceiling is you're starting to dream a little bit. You're starting to wonder a little bit, and maybe that's just the rose-colored glasses, crimson-colored glasses that we're seeing. But you're starting, in my opinion, to think what can be, what could be. If this team starts to continue to look, you get the effort from Mohamed Diabate off the bench that you got from on Saturday. 14 points. What did he have? 7 rebounds. Is that our friend? Yeah. No, 9 rebounds. Excuse me. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and then he got to the look. He should have never taken those couple of 3-point shots. Those were kind of outside of his wheelhouse. But 6 of 10 for shooting. So basically, all the shots that he took were makeable shots and high percentage shots. He comes in there, brings a lot of energy. I think this basketball team has a lot of good pieces. It brings us to Nick Pringle. Nick Pringle's still sitting on the bench on Saturday night. He's on the bench on Saturday night in his street clothes. What do you want to be, Nick Pringle? What does it want to be, Nate Oates? Nick Pringle still obviously suspended. We will find out more about Nick Pringle going forward and probably at the next press conference. Is he going to be back in the fold? You're limited. You are limited, no matter if you have Nick Pringle or you don't. You're still limited front court depth, and you need more bodies. You saw what happened on Saturday night with Grant Nelson and Wagi fouling out. And Wagi, you must have the highest foul rate per 40 minutes in the entire country. Oh man, and so you're liking these guys' efforts, but you're thin body-wise, numbers-wise. It'd be so nice to have Nick Pringle bought into what Nate Oates wants to do, and not that he's a make or break player. I would argue that he's more of he's not a make or break player, but it'd be just nice to have another body that you could throw at somebody if you end up running into a Zach Edey, another one of these premier bigs like Cockbrenner over at Creighton. Like it'd be so nice to have another big man that you can just, okay, we're gonna mix the looks up on you. If Tolu Smith had somebody else on Saturday night, Janai Broom on Wednesday. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so nice if Nick Pringle, you want to get back into the fold right there on time for Wednesday's game against Janai Broom, who came into Coleman Coliseum and put up 20-plus points. He's going to do that and even more in Neville Arena. So this Alabama basketball team, they're starting to give you the tingles a little bit. And if you're not on board, if you're not watching them yet, this is probably the time where you're going to want to figure out if you like these guys or not. The rest of the SEC is still, fighting for the, look, Alabama hasn't run away with the league. You're only up by one game. You're up by one game over on South Carolina, who you have a tiebreaker over, and currently over Auburn, who you have a tiebreaker over, with a huge game on Wednesday. So it's not like anything done and dusted. You're halfway through the SEC season. Nothing is set in stone. But you start to see Tennessee go into Kentucky and basically play their game, run up and down the floor. And you see Tennessee, and you basically say, okay, it is going to be a three-team race. Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee. You get Tennessee returning to Coleman Coliseum. And it makes for Wednesday's game so huge. Oh, man, Alabama and Auburn, 6 o'clock over in Neville Arena. We'll be there with BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. So what else you want to get into for the rest of the day? It's National Signing Day on Wednesday. We're going to try to catch up with QB Reese, linebacker out of Ramsey High School. He's one of the few guys who is signing on National Signing Day. He's going to basically wrap up the class for Alabama football, and we're really excited to talk to him. We want to encourage you guys to subscribe and rate and review the program on all of your or any of your favorite platforms, YouTube, Spotify, you can Apple Podcast, wherever that you get the Joe Gaither Show. We encourage you, if you missed the Amari Jefferson interview, we talked to Amari Jefferson on Saturday about this staff and his most recent visit. Look, one thing I want to throw out there is you saw news today. If you didn't see news today, Naeem offered the cornerback, the supreme cornerback who's out of Alabama, pretty much the number one rated player in the 2025 class. He has committed to Ohio State. With him committing to Ohio State, look, there's still 11 months, 10 months till 11 months until December. So we'll see if that commitment sticks, if Coach Kalen DeBoer can reel him back in. But my first thought was just Ohio State and their money jumping back in, and it's just continuing to roll. Look, if it takes a Michigan national championship for Ohio State to rally all their troops and all their NIL funds, and they end up getting some of the best players in the Southeast, just is what it is in the state of the sport. So that's going to really do it for me. I only wanted to talk about the basketball game today. You guys can jump in and comment what you thought about this Alabama basketball team, where you thought the ceiling was. Oh, let's give you the results. The results of that poll. We had 127 voters that did chime in at Joe Gaither 6 on the X or Twitter machine. I did ask if the Alabama Crimson Tide basketball team plays the way it did against Mississippi State on Saturday night, its ceiling is the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, or the national title. We had Elite Eight come in as the winner at 28.3%. Coming up second place was Final Four with 26.8%. And we have a lot of believers out there, a lot of national championship believers. 27% of you said national title. So I do think that this team is playing very similarly to, playing more similarly to the two NATO's Sweet 16 teams than the one NATO it's one and done year. What was that? The Jaden Shackelford year. They went out to San Diego and were beat by Notre Dame right there in the first round. So I think it's playing closer to that Sweet 16. And if they can catch a good draw, then you never know. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe Elite Eight is the ceiling. Maybe they can stretch run and jump into the Final Four, but they've still got a lot of room to grow and a long way to go from a basketball perspective. Saturday was just highly encouraging. Look, they're not in the UConn realm. They're not in the North Carolina realm right now, but maybe they're on the outside looking in. So we'll see what they do on Wednesday, right down there in Neville Arena against the Auburn Tigers. So that's going to do it for our show today. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 6 on Twitter, on Facebook, or on YouTube, on whatever your favorite social media machine is. You can follow BamaCentral at BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. We are your Sports Illustrated home. We want to encourage you to check out on BamaCentral my man Matthew Gibson's piece right now. He's got a really extensive look at Coach Kalen DeBoer's brand new offense. He writes about schematics of his offense. He writes about really what the Washington offense was trying to do over the last 2 years and how that's going to translate to the Crimson Tide offense going forward. It's going to be really exciting getting to know a brand new system, and you can read about that on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.